Doka ma young achokai. And it, Honorable Minister, thank you so much for agreeing to stay for the next session, which will be talking about national tourism organizations. It's a round table, sir. And of course, we are talking about Destination Reload in Southern Africa. And of course, we want to rise together. There is no Zimbabwe without South Africa. There is no Zimbabwe without Zambia. There is definitely no Zimbabwe without Namibia. There is no Zimbabwe without Botswana. And its surrounding friends, hey? So we have those guys on standby, the chief executive officers of those places. They will be coming through here, yeah? I'm talking about the national tourism organizations. But before we do so, Honorable Minister, allow me to ask you to come on stage one more time, sir. And of course, at this point, we have something nice for you, sir. Shall we give him a round of applause? And I would also like to call upon my chairperson, Mawerera, to come through and present our appreciation to our guest of honor. He's going to be accompanied by his acting chief executive, Vachidzidzi. Shall we give them a round of applause as well, ladies and gentlemen? Ka saga bega ka honorable kane tunu mkati. Itai kuti tunu. Tunu honorable minister nekutara kwa ita chairman wangu kuti when you live here, since it's a Thursday today, so mukabuda ku office nasi kia igere mkati honorable minister. Mova ma sangana nesumangwana ku golf anditika Ladies and gentlemen, an appreciation to our chairman and the chief executive as they go down together with the honorable minister. Thank you, sir. I hope you will stay for this coming session. But as we go down, I would like for us, again, ladies and gentlemen, to fix our eyes on our screens. We've got one more video to show you. Please. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. If you could turn down the lights for us, please. Thank you.
There are not so many places where mice excellence has been achieved. Meeting in Zimbabwe is the best business decision you will ever make. Our adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols is second to none, coupled with the warm and hospitable nature of the people of Zimbabwe. Our conference facilities sit on marvelous backdrops, which will offer a splendid experience that will leave a lasting impression on you and your delegates. The magic of Zimbabwe can be felt in every breath, bite, and beat. Stadiums and exhibition centers are known for their international appeal and world-class standards. The high-end technology will surely enhance your experience of the exhibition, festival, or concert. Motivate your team by treating them to a trip of a lifetime through our crafted itineraries. Should they have love for adrenaline-packed activities or calm and relaxed excursions, the enchantment will last a lifetime of memories. Mingle and engage with locals and enjoy our diverse culture and warm hospitality. Our MICE drivers are ready to welcome you to Zimbabwe and exceed your expectations. Meet in Zim, your ideal meeting place.
Thank you very much. Shall we give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Work that is done in Zimbabwe. Oh, you can bring the lights back on. Thank you. So you can see me. Can you see me? Say, I see you, man. Say, I see you, man. Guys. We like to play and make things happen as we meet in Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, like I did say, we have our next session, which is Destination Reload, Southern Africa Rising Together. And I know that there are people who are ready for us online. And thank you so much for bearing with us and being with us here. I am going to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, the participants that are going to be here. We have Mr. Chavunga Lungu of the Zambia Tourism Agency is going to be part of that panel. We also have Digu Naibib from the Namibian Tourism Board. We also have the acting chief executive of the Botswana Tourism Organization, Tsokane Tsokal Ponosele, is going to be coming and joining us here as well. We've got Evelyn Mahlaba, who's the regional general manager for Africa, South Africa Tourism. And we have one and only Givmo Chidzidzi, who's the acting chief executive of the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority. And we have also Lily Rakorong, who is the chief executive of the Hospitality and Tourism Association of Botswana, joined also by Matamisa, who is the chief executive of the Tourism Business Council in Zimbabwe. And ladies and gentlemen, can you put your hands together to my Sekuru? Sekuru. His name, ladies and gentlemen, is Douglas Mavembu. He's going to be the moderator for this particular session. Shall we give him a round of applause as he comes to take the podium? Aiwa, ombera maoko ndishumba kawa ndo wana odzingwa mangwana kumbo.
Is our acting minister, Honorable Dr. Muswere. Please welcome, sir, to this session. And let me also recognize our acting payment secretary, Dr. Nyoa. Welcome. Let me recognize the chairman of the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority Board, Ray Mawerera. Thank you very much for being with us here. The captains of the tourism and the hospitality industry, here represented by Mr. Matamisa, please welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also recognize our audience, the most valuable exhibitors and buyers who are following this session virtually. At this juncture, let me call upon Givmo Chidzidzi to come on stage and Paul Matamisa so that we start our session. As they are coming to take their seats, I was just looking at my time. Gentlemen, we are pressed with our time. As I come to this session, let me just once again thank our colleagues who are joining us online, the chief executives of our national tourism organizations from the region, and those that are representing the private sector tourism associations. This is the third round table running alongside Sanganai, Hlanganani World Tourism Expo. And this is very important as we try to explore opportunities and the possible areas of cooperation between and among member states in the region in particular, and those that are beyond in general. I'm happy that this is the first such roundtable to be held at this level of the national tourism organizations and the private sector tourism associations, as the previous roundtables were actually focusing on policymakers, our ministers. Maybe, gentlemen, before we come to our interactive session, let me just give the context of this discussion. The discussion is premised on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the global tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic has had a huge impact on the global tourism industry due to the resulting travel restrictions, as well as a slump in global travel amongst travelers. But prior to this devastating global impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, international tourism was experiencing high growth, outpacing the global economy. It was growing at 3.5% in terms of the GDP growth, compared to 2.5 global real economic GDP growth in 2019. So, ladies and gentlemen, international tourism was forecasted to continue growing steadily at 3 to 4% for the year 2019, until after we have been hit by the pandemic, which actually brought our industry to a standstill. With these statistics, developing countries have borne the biggest brunt of the pandemic's impact on tourism. They suffered the largest reductions in tourist arrivals in 2020, estimated at between 60% and 80%. According to the World Tourism Organization, international tourist arrivals declined by about 1 billion or 73% between January and December 2020. In the first quarter of 2021, the World Tourism Barometer pointed to a decline of 83%. The African region received a drop of 81% in international arrivals between January and March 2021. Now turning to our topic today, the topic is aptly captioned as Destination Reload, Southern Africa Rising Together. This is a very relevant and timely topic, and I shall field generic questions across all our guests here for consistency as we try to emerge out of this discussion with policy recommendations that may find their way to our policy and political principles. The idea really, ladies and gentlemen, is to try and learn from each other's experiences and try to share the way forward in terms of strategies to contain the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our panelists here with me at Mikkel's Hotel. I have Give Mochidzizi. I will ask Give Mochidzizi to introduce himself first, then I'll go to Mr. Matamisa. Give Mo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mavembu. Thank you so much, colleagues, for joining us from across the borders, virtually, and all those that are listening. As has been said, I'm Give Mochidzizi. I'm the acting chief executive of the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, which is the NTO for Zimbabwe. I don't think I need to say much in the interest of time, but just to say I'm so pleased to be on this panel with you, Dr. Mavembu.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Paul Matamisa. I'm chief executive of the Tourism Business Council, which is a private sector institution that looks after the interests of those who are plying trade in tourism.
Thank you very much. I'll turn to colleagues who are from our regional member states. I'll just call your name and please proceed to introduce yourself. I'll start with Mr. Chavunga. Lung, please give a short introduction of yourself. Thank you, sir.
Online, please confirm that I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. Joining me from online with its own challenges, but I'm glad that I'm audible. Head is Chavunga Lungu. I come from the beautiful country of Zambia. I am currently the acting chief executive officer for the Zambia Tourism Agency, international tourism organization responsible for regulating tourism in this country, responsible for marketing and regulating of tourism. I'm glad that I could join this session this morning to just share ideas with the rest of the team for how I can take actions myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lungu. Our next speaker is Mr. Digu. Please proceed to introduce yourself, Mr. Digu. Digu from Namibia. As we sort out the IT issue, let's proceed to Carl from Botswana. Carl, are you online? Yes, Carl. IT, please assist us. As Carl prepares to come through, let me proceed to South Africa. Evelyn, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Evelyn. I'm the regional account manager responsible for South African tourism in the continent and domestic. I bring regards from my acting CEO, Mr. Jamil, who couldn't be here today because they have a board meeting. So with that, I look forward to engaging, sharing, and learning from our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn, and welcome once again. Let me move on to Botswana again. Lily, are you online?
Yes, I am. Am I audible?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Very good morning, colleagues. My name is Dira Borom. I am the Chief Executive Officer for the Hospitality and Tourism Association. Policy advocacy to promote an enabling environment for business for operators in Botswana. We are more of an umbrella body, and of course, we work with our colleagues closely in Botswana through the board as well as the ministry or government, and then of course colleagues in the region. I'm here to share experiences, to learn from other colleagues how they're doing it, and hopefully through this meeting we will be able to come up with something that can help us as a region, as people in our agenda to uncover as an industry. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much, Lily. Let me go back to Namibia. Digu, are you now online? Digu? Botswana again. Carl, are you online? Maybe, yes, please, you will assist me. You are going to be my co-captain in trying to steer this ship. So you will assist me by making sure that our colleagues are able to join in. You will also assist me in terms of timekeeping because we are pressed in terms of our time now. But what I will do, I had to restructure my session, my panel. I'm going to ask 4 questions. I'll ask you 4 questions in a row for all of you, like I indicated that these are generic questions. Then I'll give an opportunity to the guest speaker to attend to those 4 areas, 4 issues, and I'll take questions thereafter. After every speaker, I'll open the floor to participants, those who are also following us virtually, then move on to the next speaker. My questions are centered around 4 areas, which are to get an update in terms of the state of tourism, within the respective member states, those that are participating, what has been the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. I will also look at the issues around strategies for recovery during and post-COVID-19, so that we are able to look at those strategies that we can then synergize together as we try to emerge as one but multifaceted region in terms of rebounding our tourism industry. I'll then proceed to look at the possible areas of collaboration and cooperation between member states in the region. And the last question will look at the partnerships that we may drive between the public and private sector players with regards to national tourism organizations and tourism associations. The first question, and colleagues, we are now hitting the ground running. I'll give you the first question, and please take note because I want to give these questions in a row. The first question is about the state of tourism in our respective countries. The impact of COVID-19 and national response strategies varied from one country to another. Can you give us a general update on the current state of tourism within your respective countries? That's question number 1. Question number 2, strategies for recovery during the post-COVID-19. As member states and the key institutions, I'm talking about national tourism organizations and private sector tourism associations responsible for tourism promotion and development, what strategies do you recommend for tourism recovery during and post-COVID-19? The third question, tourism collaboration is a key success factor for sustained growth between countries. According to the World Tourism Organization, the African region only accounts for 5% of global tourist arrivals and receipts. With collaborative efforts, what collaborative efforts do you think the SADC region and Africa at large should pursue in order to increase the market share and performance of our regional tourism sector at the global level? And last question, governments lead and direct tourism policies, while its national tourism organizations implement them. But the engine behind tourism development is the private sector. And thus one cannot work without the other. Can you explain how the private sector tourism associations should work hand in gloves with national tourism organizations in the development of their national tourism sector? Ladies and gentlemen, these are the questions that I'm fielding, and my running order in terms of responses, I will start with Botswana, with Zambia, Mr. Lungu, then followed by Namibia. You should be ready. Carl, I hope by then you will be online and be ready as the third panelist. The fourth will be Evelyn, South Africa. The fifth, it will be Give Mochizizi. And the sixth, it will be Lil from Botswana, and the last but not least will be the Chief Executive for Tourism Business Council of Zimbabwe, Mr. Matamisa. So this is my running order, and like I said, Hazel, you'll be my co-captain. Please, colleagues, stick to your script, like I've tried to do myself. I think you've seen, I've tried to keep to my script. So let's shoot, try to answer all the 4 areas, then we open the floor for discussions. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Lungu.
Thank you very much, Doc, and thank you. I'm not too sure why you started with Zambia. I want to just guess because Zimbabwe and Zambia share the seal of fighting or where it belongs. Thanks for putting me on the platform. I think the 4 questions that have been asked are very important questions in my view. And if we, out of this conversation, we can be clear about where we want to go in those 4 thematic questions, then we will say we had a session that was successful for the sake of making our region renowned as far as tourism and destination arrivals are concerned. The first one was a state on update on respective countries. So for Zambia specifically, from the time that the COVID-19 hit in 2019, the country was very specific. The president at the time, you might be aware that we have a new government in place with a new president. The president at the time made it very clear that the borders were not going to close per se. So this was out of the realization of the impact that the tourism sector had to society broadly, because a number of economies, a number of people in the country largely depend on those that travel from outside the country and those that do inland travel. So we remained open. Obviously, it was with a lot of care, having been guided by the health officials, the World Health Organization, and also the Ministry of Health, which is responsible for all health matters in the country, including another organization responsible for public health. So we ended up having a situation where we said the borders were not going to be closed. However, we handled those borders with a lot of care, meaning those that needed to travel out of the country into Zambia needed to be vaccinated, or they needed to have a negative PCR test, which was supposed to be taken within 72 hours of getting onto their flight and coming into the country. Because obviously we were following the events of the world in terms of certain countries that were really hit and were red list, so we demanded that some of those visitors that were coming from those countries would end up being quarantined as they came into the country. So the tourism sector was really hit. If I may throw out some numbers there for Zambia, we were international travel coming into the country went down by over 60%. You can imagine the devastating effect on the hospitality industry, the lodges, the safari lodges, the transport business, the hotels and the airlines. We ended up having a situation where most of the airlines decided not to come into the region because they did not have the numbers to sustain them from that point of view. However, just like any other country in the world, having realized that we still needed to project a picture to the rest of the world that we were a very open market, we went on a robust vaccination program, which ended up having a lot of those of our colleagues who are in the front line, even in the tourism sector, being asked to voluntarily vaccinate. It was a voluntary program. The idea was to make them understand that even the few customers that were coming into the country also needed to feel that they were safe as they came to this particular destination. So we had a national vaccination campaign that went out. The other places that we had to sort of involve that we associations in the country. As some of you may know, the country is divided into many major associations. Obviously, Livingstone being the tourism capital and the host of the Victoria Falls is a big region. So there are activities that are going on around in that particular place. We also focus on areas such as the South Luangwa National Park, the Katiwe National Park, the Lower Zambezi National Park. And there's lots of focus to get the northern part of the country, which is the northern circuit, to be known as far as tourism development is concerned. And also we've got different associations to spread out the news about vaccination so that we can be seen as a destination. In terms of strategies, the new president is keen about the recovery of this country from a tourism point of view, to the extent that the tourism sector has been listed now as number 3 priority sector for economic recovery, only third to mining, agriculture, and then tourism. That shows how important the current government attaches, the importance that it attaches to tourism development in this particular country. So every time the president stands, you see him talk about tourism, you see him talk about asking all colleagues in the sector to go out and get vaccinated. He himself, just about 2 weeks ago, relaunched the vaccination program to ensure that everyone else is vaccinated within the country. As a destination, from a strategy point of view, we realized that we will have this COVID going on for some time. So we decided to start hosting a number of collaborative efforts and virtual talks with colleagues in the region, embassies also that are in the different source markets, and also tour operators in those source markets. First of all, tell them about our position around COVID, and secondly, that we are not closed as a destination, and that we could go on to talk about these to those that were out there in those source markets, that Zambia would be a safe destination. So there's been a lot of emphasis also on the use of digital media and digital platform to ensure that much as those that are traveling and are searching for information want to travel but are limited now, they can still find the relevant information that is carried up to date about the destination and the region, and also other information that they may need to know about traveling, but also getting into their minds, top of mind awareness about this destination, so that when they are ready to travel, they then think about this region, which then affects also has a ripple effect on the other neighboring countries and the regions in this particular region. So from a strategic point of view, a lot of collaboration, especially with the private sector. We've had engagements upon engagements, virtual engagements, and also getting ideas. But also a third one is the fact that while we realized that international travel was really hampered, how could we then still continue to sustain the tourism sector? So we embarked on a domestic tourism campaign, which ensured that there were things put in place to attract domestic travel, because it is our belief that those that are inland in the country, upon enjoying the facilities that they have in the country, are better placed to talk about this for a time when tourism and international travelers will actually be banned. So we are doing a lot of domestic push. We are also doing a number of discussions with a number of countries that we have around us, how we can benefit from each other, especially around the issues to do with uni visas and the ease within which visitors in the region can cross borders if they want to come from Botswana to cross into Zambia for a day to see the other beautiful side of the Victoria Falls and cross back into Botswana, or go into Namibia and Zimbabwe. So those are talks that we are having within the region. We are also positioning ourselves as a MICE destination of choice, but also we realize during this period that MICE now, like we are having now, opportunities are there from the hybrid point of view, where you can have physical meetings as well as virtual virtual meetings so that we do not lose out all those that we want to follow sessions such as the ones that we have currently. So in a nutshell, that is what is happening in Zambia. I am ready to take questions that should follow, but I just thought I should just give a broad picture of generally, in summary, what is happening and what we are doing around this period where we've been hit greatly by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lung, for that presentation. Maybe before I open to the floor for questions, just as a follow-up question, Mr. Lungu, you mentioned your focus on domestic tourism as a way of trying to, make tourism rebound within your country. How has been the response in terms of the domestic market, if I can ask?
Ms. Moderator, thanks for that question. The domestic market has responded greatly. So it is not surprising that when you go to a number of these micro-tourism sites every weekend or long weekend, you find either residents in Zambia, in the diplomatic nations, or Zambians themselves go to these particular locations and they are full. The private tour operators actually tell us that in the last 1 or so years, what has sustained them is the locals going to these destinations. But what has helped is the discussions that we have around the intricacies of the differences that are between the international travelers and the domestic travelers as far as ability to spend is concerned. So there's a big discussion around price. It is a free market economy that we have, and pricing is really set by the different private sectors and developers that we have in the sector. So the discussion is how best does the private sector come to the table to ensure that these facilities are accessible to the domestic market as well. So the pricing model is really key. Another thing that is key is obviously information that should be going out, that these are places that they can go to and they are very open. What we have found is happening is that perhaps most of our colleagues that either suffered from COVID at some time and they recovered are looking for places where they can just go and unwind. And we found out that they go to places that are in the wild, I mean, put it that way, places where these are serene places because most of our tourism actually is nature-based, and they sort of find a place where they can recover and get back to their businesses. Also, one other thing that we've been promoting is the area of workation, where there are institutions that are giving opportunities to their workers to not only work from home, but also have time to go and work from places where they're taking a holiday and they can work while they are in those places. So those are small opportunities that we are finding, and I think we have responded, the domestic market has responded greatly in that regard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Long. I think our colleagues, those who are here at Miku's Hotel, I will entertain 2 questions so that we are able to live within our time. Yes, though, if we have 2 questions that are coming through, virtual platform, please let us know. Anyone with a question from the presentation from Mr. Lung? Yes, sir. Anything from the virtual platform? Okay, thank you very much. I think we can now proceed to the next speaker. Is Mr. Digu now online from Namibia? Mr. Digu?
Right. Yes, good morning, and good afternoon, rather. And much obliged to analysts on this discussion. Myself, I'm Digu Naube, Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Tourism Board. To start off with, definitely with the advent of COVID-19 when it started in March, we really felt the shockwaves rippling through the tourism industry. As a start, as government had gone through for the first 2 months. And around June last year, the president had declared that the initiatives must be done to revive the tourism industry. That gave rise to the birth of Tourism Revival Initiative, which was then asked to come up with strategies as to inform the politicians how can we then open up the tourism sector. One of the things that we had put through was, as much as there was a norm worldwide that 72 hours negative PCR test seems to be a norm, we had concluded as long as a person has a negative PCR test upon arrival, the chances of these people infecting or infecting themselves is quite low. So we had rather opted for 7 days at least, meaning from the date of test up until the arrival in Namibia, what test must be valid for 7 days. That is to give room, especially for our international travelers across the globe, which are traveling from as far as United Kingdom and from China, because they have to really fly through, because of the early problems through Europe and through Addis Ababa. So that actually would not have made sense for them to have 72 hours about it. Otherwise, they would have to, on the route, be able to do another test, which is not possible. So government has acceded to that request. And secondly, what we have said is that as long as the person has a negative PCR test, there would be no provision for quarantine. So people could, upon arrival, travel through the country as a tourist, and that is still the case, although at certain points, like in June, July this year, when we were at the peak of our Delta COVID, us as the residents were not allowed to move from one region to other. However, the tourists were allowed to frequent our country. So that was another strategy we had in place. The other was to really, because we had problems, because quite a lot of airlines that used to fly directly to Namibia, such as Qatar, KLM, Ethiopian Airlines, Condor, and Eurowings, and Pull Up. Air Namibia got liquidated in the end. It's a national airline. South African Airways, which was servicing us for the business rescue, Comair, British Comair, got grounded. So we had that of challenge in terms of airline and tourists into Namibia. Up until now, we only have Ethiopian Airlines flying 3 times a week. We have Lufthansa through Eurowings Discover, who is also flying 3 times a week. SAA has not yet considered us as the next regional market. They said they will probably consider Namibia in the second phase of their regional one after their home out of their business rescue. As South African Airlines is only having 1 flight a week. So it was a private initiative to allow us to start a new airline called FlyWestAir, which will now next week launch the first flight in Hector. Currently they are only flying domestically. So we still have those challenges in terms of airline in order to revive the tourism industry, although we are seeing there's quite a lot of demand in terms of people wanting to travel to Namibia. Because our strategy is to say to the world, as much as we are a 2-point population size, we have a huge country, and naturally, we aspire to social distance. Because hardly when you're traveling to Namibia, you would be interacting with the crowds. So that already gives you the peace of mind. Being natural social distancing that we are offering as a country and less interaction. We have worked with the private sector to do the health protocols. We have been educating some of them, especially small and medium business enterprises, how to effectively apply and implement this type of safety protocols for their staff as well as the travelers. And that was also the message we went to continue to give, to say, we are ready in terms of safety. The safety is guaranteed. We are minimizing the risk of further infections. So there was also another bottom line that we were doing part of the marketing campaign. Our focus also was on digital marketing platforms, because we were looking at ways how to use digital platforms such as YouTube in order where we were producing short videos to show about Namibia so that we are at the top of the mind of being the route of traveler in the future. So we continue to ensure that we must sustain our presence and visibility in our source markets. Especially, we had a problem then we were registered as a Copenhagen destination and also the UK, but having us now removed from those lists, in fact, the demand has actually skyrocketed. People want to travel. In fact, our engagement that we had earlier this week with the private sector, our car rental companies are totally overwhelmed because of COVID, they had to sell off part of their fee. They want to buy the fee, but they are told in South Africa, most of the production, the vehicles are somewhere hoarded in assembly lines because they don't have chips that they need to import in order to put into the vehicles for us to restock our fleet. Because Namibia essentially is a self-drive market. We do not do so much organized tours like us with the things again because of the safety, security, and the good infrastructure we have in terms of road networks and telecommunication. So that seems to be another bottleneck. We cannot provide rental vehicles to people who want to come. But again, in terms of the research we've done, there is still a demand and bookings that are upsetting until March next year. So we are coming out of the doldrums. But if you can compare in terms of statistics-wise, we had about 1.3 million arrivals in 2019. That has gone down to about 300,000 arrivals in 2020. That is effectively 85% decrease that we had gone through in 2020. So definitely it had a great impact, but we are hoping that the year 2021 is a much more positive one because we are seeing also a lot of new entrants registering their businesses with us because we also regulated tourism industry. So there seems to be an appetite for people to do and willingness for them to start new businesses in terms of these trying times. But one would have probably thought it was a trying time. So those are issues that we are dealing with. In fact, we are also working with our national Namibian airports company to see how can we boost that, involves a need to try and engage more airlines to fly into Namibia because that is the problem. Because now that the UK is also open, traditionally British tourists will be traveling to Johannesburg to connect on to Namibia. But then we only have South African Airlines that has about 100 seat capacity via one flight a day. It is a bottleneck for us to get foothold into that. So, in terms of the recovery strategy, airlift is quite important to address.
Yes, Mr. Degu, if you can round off. Sorry for that intervention. Yes, thank you.
I'll do that. And in terms of the collaborative efforts, definitely we did involve with the CASA initiative and the UNIVISA. And with the private sector, we do really have a sound relationship. As I said, we have quarterly meetings where we appraise ourselves, they give us an input, and that input we relay to government in terms of travel restrictions. So far we had specials, especially for SAPEC. We have seen quite an interest from the Botswana people. We are ready for this festive season in Swakopmund, our coastal town where you really want to bungee jump yourself. So definitely we are open. In fact, we have also the South Africans coming in. We don't need to have a rapid test at our borders as long as the PCR test is not more than 70 days old. You are welcome to travel to Namibia, and that is what we are saying.
Thank you, Dig, for that presentation. I'm happy that apart from looking into the domestic market, you are also looking at the regional market. Promotion of intra and inter-regional travel is very, very important. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, Hazel, from those following us through virtual platforms?
No, sir, there are no questions.
We don't have questions so far. One question from the room, if we have any burning question. Thank you very much. I'm happy. I'm sure you are following fully the proceedings, and I'm here for my time. Let me now move to Botswana. Carl, are you now back online? Carl.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Carl. If you can come in, please try not to proceed 4 minutes at most.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me give everybody my sincere apologies for my absence. My name is Tohane Tokanko-Mansele. I am the acting CEO, Botswana Tourism Organization. And I'm just going to give you a brief update on the state of tourism in our country, in Botswana, how we are faring so far and how the COVID has affected us as well. And I will also hand over to my colleague from the Hospitality Tourism Association of Botswana. As the private sector, they are well positioned, honestly, to speak to how the impact and how the industry is faring with regards to the current situation in this pandemic. So I will start by talking to the reduced contribution, and I believe in all the countries that are here, we can all attest to the reduction in the contribution to GDP or contribution of the tourism sector to the economy. Botswana has really experienced that reduction, as well as the cessation of foreign currency generation. We have seen everything coming to a standstill. Initiatives were there to try to leverage on the domestic market. However, it couldn't really cushion the industry so for the recovery going forward. We have also experienced some reduced tax revenues. We know very well that we rely mostly from the levies that come from the sector, but with the travel and tourism, they come to a standstill where there was nothing that we could really get out of the sector. Over and above that, we experienced some reduction in resource royalties. We've got some concessions that we operate on and we sell our product from. However, due to the low or even zero occupancies and even zero visits during this time, we couldn't get any royalties and any rent out of these concessions that are in our prime attraction areas. Over and above that, there were some increased costs to government to support the industry. You know, we were trying to close the gap of job losses, so there were some levies, subsidy. The subsidy to try to subsidize the sector to be able to survive throughout this period. And while on to that one, there were some other adaptability or crisis management initiatives that were put in place during this period. We formulated and started implementing COVID-19 standard operating procedures, and I know some member countries here in the CASA are aware of our SOPs because we worked together when we were now developing the CASA protocol. We, over and above that, encourage the industry to turn cancellations into postponement because we remain hopeful that at some point the situation will be abated and therefore we'll be able to have some travelers coming in. Over and above that, we embarked on aligning our messaging, the narrative, to ensure that we to addressing the COVID-19 and its evolution. We also embarked on destination brand awareness campaigns, and amongst them mostly within the country, ensuring that the domestic market or the locals are aware and they buy into the packages that are existing to ensure that the sector remains operational. On that, I will also give to my colleague from the private sector to speak to the strategies for recovery going forward.
Yes, thank you very much, Carl. Lily, you can kick off from where Carl has left. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Edith. I believe that a lot has been said, and there are a lot of similarities between what has been said by colleagues in Zambia as well as in Namibia. Tourism has spared nobody, and ourselves, of course, included in Botswana. And a lot of effort, as Michael has already mentioned, were put in place, and just to share that in Botswana, in fact, just for the period of March to May 2020, we lost about 1.5 billion as compared to a projected 2.1 billion for the same period. So you can only imagine the impact of COVID in terms of the numbers. Indeed, it's a very interesting period. A lot of learnings for all of us, and in terms of strategies, a lot of effort was put in to ensure that how do we really cushion the sector, how do we not allow it to collapse. And we were working closely with the tourism organization as well as to government, because at the end of the day, all of the assistance we were looking for was the support from government. One of the things that we looked at was the wage cost relief for the private sector. We were provided with a wage subsidy for the going into the business for the whole country was for a period of 3 months. But based on the impact of the pandemic on the tourism industry, it was extended to with another 6 months, giving us a period of nine months. And then, of course, emergency credit for firms was also put in place in order to reduce stress in the form of low interest, long-term loans. And then a 90-day moratorium on loan repayment and debt restructuring for firms and workers in the hospitality and tourism industry was also put in place. Tax relief suspension and VAT and pay-as-you-earn for 6 months also was put in place. So, and also, I think for us, our case was very special in the sense that we were also under the state of emergency. We only just came out of the state of emergency in September, end of September. So we've been in a state of emergency for about 18 months. So you can imagine that also had a serious impact on what at least we could even do. Not only that, we even have our own movement restrictions internally because the country was zoned into different areas. So we couldn't have people coming from area A moving into area B in order to control the spread of the virus. So that also on its own limited what we could actually derive from the domestic market. But having said that, we also had like the short-term survival and recovery in place, which was preparation to allow international travelers to start coming in. What we did was we created what we would term the bubble. In areas where we believed we could control the movement, there were bubbles created, especially in the hard-to-reach areas. There we created bubbles where, especially for the international traveler, they could come in and then go straight into that, giving the ability to our PCR test. And then, of course, in the application of COVID standard operating procedures, which is what we are looking at as we go into the vision. How do we even harmonize those standards as a vision so that whenever we get a traveler coming from outside, what works in Namibia, what's in Botswana, what's in South Africa, and so on and so forth. We also looked at the domestic vision. We are also looking at how do we now revive the domestic and regional movement. I've been listening to Dibu saying that they are eyeing Botswana coming into Namibia come the holiday season. We are expecting the same from Namibia and of course from South Africa and Zimbabwe and Zambia, because we are also expecting something from Botswana into your destinations. And then also the other things that we are looking at.
Yes, Lily.
Segmentation to identify marketing approaches and opportunities. What are the things that we do?
Sorry for the interruption.
Certain things that we have identified, and we are also looking at other things that we take into the media we take.
Yes, Lily.
I think,
Lily, yes, Lily, sorry for the interruption.
Stimulus proposal for the tourism industry. The vaccination was one key area that we looked at and said, if we have to make it, really we need to get the tourism sector to get vaccinated as soon as possible, because we get them as frontliners. We are on our way. When we say hospitality, we are part of the hospital, so we are part of the health.
Thank you, Lily. Sorry for interruption.
Our employees get vaccinated so that they are able to handle the people that come into our products. Not only that, because here in Botswana, we did as an industry.
Hello, Lily. Do you hear me, Lily?
We even offered our products.
My apologies for interruption.
Isolation centers where we could put up people that are being isolated.
Are you able to send the signal? Yes, sir.
Then we prioritize. Of course,
yes, Lily.
And a lot of people using the tourism industry, they have already gotten their first jab. We will be going into the second jab.
Yes, Lily.
So we are expecting that at least by mid-November, everybody in the tourism industry should have at least their checks. That will at least have everybody be vaccinated. Now we're working towards the boosters going forward.
Yes, Lily. Hello, Lily.
It's about the areas of collaboration.
Sorry, Lily. Hello, Lily.
Our view is that as an industry, we have
yes, sir. Are you able to send signal?
not to the magnitude of COVID-19, but of course we still remain hopeful that through our resilience we will bounce back strongly. And of course this will require deliberate efforts of collaboration between industry and government, and of course other partners. This will provide much needed.
Yes, Lily.
We know that, especially for the international traveler, the one that goes to South Africa is the same person that goes into Botswana, into Zimbabwe, into Nigeria, so on and so forth. Hence now we need to find ways
Hello, Lily.
together as a vision.
Okay. Hello, Lily.
Which is identified by strategic areas.
The technical team is trying to cut her off.
Hello, Lily.
We will have to
Do you hear me, Lily?
help us as a vision to recover.
Yes, Lily, do you hear me? Hello? Lily, let me thank you. My apologies. Very sorry for interrupting your presentation. I'm very sorry we are hard pressed in terms of our time. But all the same, we are very grateful for what you have shared, especially your government policy intervention with regards to those subsidies which were extended to the sector. And I hope you also retain the gesture by making sure that you managed to save jobs for the Botswana who are employed in the sector. Okay. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, and once again, sorry for that intervention. We are now moving to South Africa. Evelyn, are you with us, Evelyn? This is your chance. Please try to compress, try to compress to 2 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, facilitator. I will be exceptionally short and stick to the 2 minutes. I think in terms of highlighting the state of tourism in South Africa, is that we have actually seen when we're comparing 2020 to 2019, we are down 72.6%. However, when we compare, 2019 to 2020, it's 76.2% down. However, the one thing I wish to highlight is that of those that have arrived, 76% are actually from the foreign market, which highlights the important contribution to our tourism development and sustainability in South Africa. And 1.5 of those that arrived were from the rest of the continent. 3.6% were from all the international markets. And it was important for me to highlight this issue just to show how the continent and the regions are to the sustainability of our tourism sector in South Africa. In the domestic market, we've seen a positive movement because when we just comparing 2020 to where we are now in August of 2021, we've actually seen a growth, a positive growth in all sectors of the reason for people why they're traveling, both for holiday trips, day trips, which was one of the areas where we concentrated when we recovered, when we designed the strategy to recover from COVID effects. It was the domestic market, and not only just the domestic market, but which areas of the domestic market. So it was both the day trips, just to make sure that people get out of their yards and they travel their own areas. And the second part was actually on traveling to other provinces, so holiday trips. And also ensuring those that are going for VFR, which is visiting friends and family, they actually also do activities wherever they went, even if they're paid visits. That's how we position the cover for domestic. Now, if I just go to the strategies for recovery, there was a collaboration between the tourism department and the industry to come up with the tourism sector recovery plan. And the sector recovery plan was actually the 3 pillars of it, were mainly to protect and rejuvenate the supply, meaning ensuring that the industries, the products, the tour operators, and so forth are actually protected, and also to rejuvenate the travel in that regard. And also reigniting demand. And it was actually ensuring that in that reigniting demand, the first individuals or the first area of recovery was to concentrate on domestic. So we took an inside-out approach. So it was mainly domestic travel, then regional, and the continent recovery, then to the rest of the world. And all the resources that we put, both on private and also individuals, were used on that type of inside-out recovery. So the other part of the last part of the
Yes, Evelyn, you have 1 minute left. Just a minute. My apologies.
Okay then. Okay, in that regard, I will just then highlight the
Yes.
initiative that we did.
Yes.
To initiate the domestic travel, where we actually did campaigns that were driven mainly by deals, deal-driven campaigns, because we knew that our community, in terms of people, South Africans traveling to their own country, the main thing was that it is expensive to travel. So we were actually highlighting that you can actually have different activities in South Africa at value for money prices. And over and above that, we extended that to the rest of the continent. In West Africa, we ran the summer campaign. Now, from the beginning of November, we're actually running the summer campaign for East Africa, the SADC market, as well as Angola and DRC. The other thing that we did, and it is important that I highlight this, was during the time of COVID, we actually worked on putting, back of house in place, where we were actually ensuring that we were digital tools, where we can actually do research real time. We ensured that our websites are in place so that when it's time for people to travel, they actually have the information.
Yes.
So the SADC market, we actually did research.
Yes.
To actually know what it is that we want in terms of travel.
Yes, Evelyn. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for that presentation. I'm happy that 76% of your recovery in terms of rebound is coming from the region, and you have even gone further to create packages that are targeted at different African regions, and I think that is very, very applaudable. Do we have anything from the online on South Africa's presentation? Yes, sir? Just one question. I will take one question.
They are not on South Africa. I have one question for Zambia.
For Zambia?
Yes.
Okay.
Can Mr. Lungu shed more light on the partnership engagement strategies embraced so far by your nation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lungu. Please, just after a minute.
Sorry, let me have that question again.
Okay. Yes, sir?
The question says, can Mr. Lungu shed more light on partnership engagement strategies embraced so far by your nation?
Half a minute, Mr. Lungu.
Yes, I think it is, the question is clear. There's a government side of running tourism investment, development and promotion, where we come in as Zambia Tourism Agency. We've also realized that the tourism sector, in terms of establishment of businesses, is mainly run by the private sector. The private sector has a private sector association that they belong to, and other regional private sector associations. What we have realized that during this period of COVID, while government is busy getting insights from customers, travelers, and everyone else, perhaps these insights were not going through to the private sector, to the extent that the feedback that we were getting, especially when we were driving domestic tourism, were issues to do with accessibility of these facilities as far as pricing is concerned. So what we have done is to develop different forums at which both the government, public sector and the private sector meet on one table, virtual forums, and talk about issues that impact the destination from COVID point of view. We also get in the Ministry of Health and also talk about things that the sector should be aware about. We talk about even things to do with pricing, talk about packages that could be put together to attract domestic tourism. But apart from that, for international markets to still remain alive from a collaboration point of view. The different people operated in the different source markets.
Yes, Mr.
We
Lungu.
are interested in. We've gone ahead through the different mission stations that we have to have trade talks with those mission stations and the representatives that come and the buyers, and then we talk to them about the situation in Zambia and what is available, and so that they are clear should they plan to come to Zambia.
Thank you, Mr. Lungu.
What they may have to pass through.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that is very elaborate, and it has benefited our colleagues. Now allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to come back home and ask Gizmo Chidzizi to make a very short presentation. Then Mr. Paul Matamisa will come in and will close the session. Mr. Chidzizi, just in 2 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I would like to thank the colleagues who have contributed. They've done more than 3/4 of the work, because what I've discovered is that the strategies that we have all adopted and the impact of COVID-19 seems to be similar. I mean, traffic going down by between 60 and 80% in different cases. For Zimbabwe, it was 72% 2020 compared to 2019. And obviously, the effects and the devastation of COVID-19 is almost similar in all the countries, and I will not want to belabor that point. But I think I need to just dwell on a couple of things. As we were looking at the strategies that we have, I mean, I think you said we need to talk about strategies. What we are seeing is a rebound. Our tourism seems to be picking up, and it's based on the domestic market, as we had anticipated, and also the regional market coming in slowly. And I think at the slowest pace is the international traffic. In Zimbabwe, the head of state, His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa, launched the National Tourism Recovery and Growth Strategy in August 2020, which is the Bible that we are following. It feeds into the National Development Strategy 1 and is going towards our Vision 2030. So he was very emphatic right at the beginning when the pandemic hit that it is very difficult to revive or resuscitate lives, but businesses can always recover. And that is what guided the country, that it was the livelihood and the lives and safety of our people first. And we went into the lockdowns like every other country and every other place with the borders closed, no airlines flying in, but we've since started seeing that coming back. And what we really need to be focusing on now, like everyone else, is the supply side and the demand side of the tourism. And on the supply side, I think colleagues who spoke before me mentioned the issue of people having lost their jobs and companies having disinvested. I heard about the issue of the car hire companies from Namibia, for example. In Zimbabwe, it's not different, because we also had to send people home in the private sector. And then as we opened up, you now find there is a huge demand for services which cannot be matched by the service providers. He was giving an example of a huge conference that happened, and hotels found themselves wanting, because they didn't have the requisite staff to service the rebound. And tourism, especially MICE tourism, like we discussed earlier on, kicked in very quickly. And when MICE tourism kicks in, it kicks in a big way. You can see my brother Nick is here. He's just finished hosting the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. And when that happened, obviously, people were found wanting. I mean, starting from the service in the hotels, the accommodation, people had actually gone to sleep. And even the industry suppliers, I can remember people queuing to have graphics printed for their stands. And it went beyond the tourism sector. So the impact of COVID is the tourism industry, but then it's also impacted upon by the enabler sectors. And we need really to also look at in our strategies, how do we re-engage the enabler sectors to make sure that our tourism comes back. And then in conclusion,
you give more, you can round up. your presentation.
Yes, I'll round up.
Just half a minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and for me it's a disadvantage because you can actually slap me, you know. You are sitting close to me. Anyway, that was on a lighter note. I was thinking that in terms of collaboration, that is where we really need to focus on as a region, opening up to each other in the region, because we still seem to be very closed. South Africa says 76% of their traffic is from the region. So is Zimbabwe. Traffic is majority is from the region. And now what is very important is that most of that traffic from the region, more than 3/4 of it, is actually by road. And our land border posts still remain closed. So this is where we need to be putting our heads together to say, how do we deal with the border crossings? We have opened Victoria Falls and Kazungula, but for international travelers, not for regional travelers. Yet we know very well that the regional travelers are the ones that are going to make our tourism tick. So as we discuss as colleagues, we need to be looking at strategies and ways of making sure that we really open up to the region, land borders, and then in terms of the protocols, we need to harmonize our COVID-19 guidelines and protocols and make sure that our people can enjoy, especially as we go into the festive season. We want to visit each other and we want to make sure we enjoy Christmas with our loved ones within the regions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Give More. I think that's the way to go, and that's why we have SADC. I'm happy that we've started with NTOs and tourism private sector associations from within the region, because like I said, we want to influence policy. We want to collaborate as a region, and that is very important. Mr. Matamisa, 2 minutes, then we close the session.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I've got a few things. I wanted to say that it is important. I think Gilmore has actually opened that discussion in that we are looking at the destination reload. Destination Southern Africa, perhaps. That's what we're talking about. And I believe that it is very important. And what are we looking at? First of all, we need to recognize that we are a very strong region worldwide in terms of the resources that we have, that we share. And if we can use these and utilize these properly and effectively, and we do everything together in terms of formulation of strategies to reach out to the external world out there, we certainly could be winners, all of us. And we have got wonderful historical sites. We've got the wonders of the world in this region. We look at our, the Victoria Falls, the Table Mountain, the Namibia Grand Canyons, and so on. There are so many other things that are happening, that are there, that were given us by the mighty God. And we need to utilize them for our benefit as a people of this region. And we've got scenic views, beautiful scenic views, rich socio culture, and we have beautiful climate conditions here, and pristine sandy beaches around us. We have welcoming people. We are recognized world over that we have a people that are welcoming and that look after visitors well. And we've got an abundance of wildlife. All these things add up to a product that we can actually utilize. Unique wildlife species that are available here. Marine tourism we have, rainforests we got, equatorial forests we got, desert conditions we have, mountaineering happens in this area, riverine tourism is there, trans-frontier conservation areas in this region are amazing. We need to utilize them. We need to really put our resources together for our focus as a people of this region together so that we can actually forge ahead and make tourism function for us. We need to make that happen. We've got world heritage sites, archaeological sites. I could go and say a lot more, but you will give me...
Yes, Paul. Thank you very much. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. You see, I've been struggling really to contain this panel. It is a panel made up of the chief executives from our region responsible for our national tourism organizations and the private sector tourism associations. So I think next time we'll definitely look into the issue of time allocation. Yes, my co-pilot, what is coming through?
I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is from Zororai. Is Air Namibia going to resume flights? And the second question, this one is for South Africa. It's coming from Sophia Ziregwa. Thank you, South Africa, for the presentation. How have you created packages for the domestic market?
Thank you very much, Ezo. Yes, Botswana and Namibia and South Africa. If you can quickly, a minute, maximum of minute each to respond to those questions, then we'll close this session. Thank you. Starting with Botswana. Sorry, Namibia. Dig, are you online? Okay.
We established a new timeline, so certainly I couldn't give you how much time space in the video will start. So as it is still going through actually outstanding payments that will be made, and so definitely will take it.
Okay, thank you, Dig. Evelyn, South Africa.
For us, what we did was through our database for the industry and working with the Association of Industry, tourism industry, we invited everyone to tell them what it is that we'll be doing, what we need from them, and how much resource and budget we will be putting behind the campaigns. So we did the summer, the Easter campaign for domestic. We also did the winter campaign, and the biggest one that we've done, which we do every year, except for last year, is Travel Week, where we put South Africa for South Africans at 50% or more of packages, and we promote those on behalf of the industry. And it's driven mainly online, and we link to individuals link through our websites to the platforms. And we put involvement behind the marketing of travel. That's what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. I have one question from the House. If you can quickly identify yourselves and be very brief and to the point so that we close our session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Delight Makotosi, and I run the SMEs International Expo. I'm very passionate about SMEs. What came through with the recovery strategies is that it was focusing on the bottom line. I can speak now.
Is it okay? Can you proceed?
Yes, you can.
You can proceed. I think your voice is quite okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Basically, the recovery strategies, we're focusing on the bottom line at national level. But what I want, or what was the missing link, is the casualties. Do we have any data of the players in the sector who actually were affected by this pandemic? If we miss that, automatically we wouldn't have done any justice to this discussion. So I think the presenters should also say, okay, as much as we did A, B, C, D, so that we can recover, but on the way, we lost so many members. And yes, there were some, like Mr. Titi indicated, that there were forums to resuscitate and all the other presenters did. But we need data to indicate, okay, on the way, we lost our friends. And there could be some mitigatory measures that can be put into use. I don't know if our panelists have such information.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will ask Give More to quickly respond to that, then we close the session. Ms. Chitsit.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think in terms of trying to compute how much losses we have had and how much casualties we had, you are really shooting at a moving target. right? It would normally be easy if it is an event that comes and ends. And it's almost like, every day when we are listening to news, we are hearing so many new cases and so many infections, so many recoveries. They are trying to give a running kind of, I don't want to call it score, but tally. And it's very difficult to do in a business situation now to say so many people lost their jobs, because tomorrow they are calling them as casuals, contract workers, they are losing. But we are in the process right now in Zimbabwe of doing a COVID impact assessment for the tourism sector. It is just to be commissioned soon within a project that we are working with some assistance from our partners, AFD. So we can avail that information once it is done, but it's more for the tourism industry to feed in to the authorities to say this is what has happened, so many people have laid off, and we are rehiring and whatever is happening. And in terms of registrations and renewal of licenses, for example, at ZTA, we have seen that things balancing out. So many operators closing down, but at the same time, so many new operators grabbing the opportunity, because as we were in the COVID pandemic, we discovered that some operators were actually closing shop while other operators were actually coming in. We will give a tally once we've done the survey. I'm not sure about colleagues in the region, whether any of them have done an impact assessment, and we would actually be happy to share their experiences. Thank you.
Sure, thank you very much. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of this very exciting and quite involving session. I want to promise our guest speakers that we have rapporteurs, within our secretariat that have been capturing what you said, and definitely we will provide you with the platform where you have to actually submit your presentations, because from time to time I've been trying to interrupt your presentations because we had pressed as a result of time. But otherwise, this is a very noble idea, and we should continue working together as a region as we try to reload and rebound our regional tourism sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite you to join me in congratulating and indeed thanking our esteemed presenters from within the region, and I thank you very much. Have a very wonderful day. Come and join us through virtual lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mavembu. This has been a very exciting session, and I do agree with Ms. Evelyn Mahlaba that it is important that we give ourselves enough time to engage and discuss so that we can come up with doable solutions for collaboration. At this point in time, I'd like to thank Mr. Mavembu once again. For those of you who don't know him or would like to know a little bit about him, Mr. Mavembu is the Deputy Director for International Tourism and Cooperation in the Department in the Ministry of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry. He has worked in various senior capacities within the government of Zimbabwe since 2003, including being the Acting Director of Tourism and Acting Under Secretary in Tourism. Mr. Mavembu was the co-chairperson for the Zimbabwe-Zambia Joint Technical Committee of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, UNWTO General Assembly, held in Victoria Falls in August 2013. He also chaired the African Union Commission, Specialized Technical Committee, Subcommittee on Tourism on behalf of Zimbabwe from 2017 to 2019. Mr. Mavembu holds a Master of Science degree in Tourism and Hospitality Management from the University of Zimbabwe, a Bachelor of Business Administration in Tourism Management from, I hope I don't butcher this one, I hope it's pronounced Azalea University, and various certificates in tourism and hospitality management obtained from within and outside Zimbabwe, as well as a certificate in education. He is also a member of the renowned Global Professional Tourism Institute. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for having joined us. We will now take a break for lunch. However, please join us at 1400 hours Central African Time when we discuss post-COVID assurance on Zimbabwe as a safe tourism destination. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As Hazel has said, lunch is served. Please do remember to follow us on our social handles. We have this campaign for mice that we just launched today. It is a campaign. We launched mice tourism in the country way back, but we are saying Meet in Zim as a campaign and a positioning statement. Please do follow us on our social media platforms.